How is it possible that we hear nothing about Kyrie Irving being an asshole? Nothing. He's not distributing copies of Mein Kampf courtside anymore. Wearing like a Das Boot shirt. Fucking asshole of a human being. But, Jesus.
Someone got to him, like either age. I'm sure he has kids by now. Being an adult, whatever has got something happened because it's night and day. Like it's so funny. People are trying to compliment him, and I wanted to criticize him, and then I thought, I'm like, wait, that's true. I haven't heard anything. I didn't even know he was still playing, so he must be quiet.
He's as quiet and respectful as Mike Conley would be.
Yes.
Right? A guy that never has been immersed in any controversy in his lifetime, going all the way back to his days at Ohio State.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
All right, kind of a sloppy track out there for us early this morning. Well, it was my fault. I sort of blew the beginning of our morning briefing that we do on Caffeine TV. You can catch that. You can Google it, Caffeine TV. Google it. Caffeine TV morning briefing. That's all you have to say. And you see a bunch of episodes, including one 2 days ago that Lubie somehow drew 93,000 views in just 2 days, but it's been posted there. Now, the one yesterday, I saw 1,000 views so far, but nice to see that something good is happening there. And sure enough, with the pressure of all these people tuning in on a regular basis, what do? I go mumbling through, and you only get one shot at the thing. There's no second take.
No, I mean, it's live.
So Lubie's rolling a thing. You're at the controls. There's no way to shut it down. And I'm sitting there going, can we start this again?
I can shut it down, but it'll be a whole new stream. And that one will still be up there for people to look at.
real fucking professional on my part. Sorry about that to the people there at Caffeine TV, no filter down there. But that's the way we got started. We kind of got back on track. And we're going to be right on track here because we have spectacular guests going to be with us here on the show. Scoop Skolnick, always one of my favorites here. I mean, you love talking to a guy on these kind of shows, and then you realize, man, this guy knows fucking everything.
Yes.
Now, he may not be right at picking games or whatever, or maybe he speculates about something that might happen in the off season and it doesn't transpire, but you would have to say that in terms of detailed knowledge of the Miami Heat, there are only two guys in this category, and I don't even think Pat Riley would be able to go toe-to-toe with either Ira Winderman of the South Florida Sun Sentinel, still there, writing about the Heat since their inception 32 years ago, whatever that was. And is it 32? It's maybe even more than that, right? What 1988 season? So that's 12 plus 24. Is it 36 years we've had basketball here in South Florida? Unbelievable, Louie.
Yeah.
Professional basketball. And, of course, there was no UM basketball until, I guess, right around the time that the Heat came into existence. Isn't that when they resurrected the program under Sam Jankovic?
Yeah.
And, of course, you had, what was it, Foster. What was Foster's first name? I can't remember. But a mild-mannered guy. He was coaching Virginia, came here. Terry, was it Terry Foster? Not Terry Forster. That was the big fat pitcher for the Dodgers, who David Letterman labeled a big fat tub of goo. And you were thinking, man, that guy's fat. He really was. I mean, he might have been, at one point, the fattest pitcher that was in Major League Baseball in its history. And that's saying a lot because we have some illustrious guys that have been involved. And sure enough, he eclipsed them all. But what was it, Terry Foster? Was that the name of the coach? He was the former Virginia coach. He was the original coach when they came back and resurrected the program. And they were playing at the Knight Center. I remember Kevin Presto and Tito Horford on the team. Nobody cared about it. But I believe they came into existence right before the Miami Heat. So, but a long, long time of Heat basketball being in existence. And I don't know that any two guys know it any better than Winderman, who's been there since the beginning. And, of course, our good friend Ethan Scoop Skolnick, who we're going to introduce to you right now, as he joins us here on the show from 5 Reasons Sports Network. It's founder, it's CEO, it's driving force, it's Jalen Brunson, it's Ethan Scoop Skolnick. How are you, my friend? How's everything going?
I'm good, guys. How are you?
Doing all right. I mean, I'm still, it was appropriate I had an omelet for breakfast because I still have some of it dripping off my face after predicting the Pacers would win Game 5 last night. So I was a little bit off on it. How do you account for this, Ethan? You've been following the NBA forever, so have I. But you in much greater detail, of course, especially in the last decade or so. These reverse blowouts that are occurring in the postseason. How is that possible that you could win a game by 30-something on your home wood and then come out and get crushed like a grape by the same team, depleted Knicks team, and lose by 30 the ensuing game? That seems almost inconceivable.
Well, I think we've seen a lot more of these because of the 3-point shot, to be honest, because it just escalates things. Team gets on a roll and the games get away. I think there's been some data shown that we actually have fewer clutch games than we used to have. Again, the scores get a little bit higher, the threes. Then there's a confidence issue on the other side, trying to come back. Teams trying to trade 2 for 3s, etc. I think that's part of it. I also think part of this is honestly that none of these teams are really that good.
Yeah.
I really think that's a lot of it. I mean, especially what the Knicks had on the floor yesterday. But this Pacers team is not elite by any means, and
No.
so I think kind of what we're seeing is, we're seeing, some the Nuggets are the Nuggets. I think they're reestablishing themselves as that, or more so Jokic is Jokic. And then they've sort of surrounded him with the perfect pieces. And once they find their footing in a series, like they don't panic. So it's sort of like that's kind of where you're at. But I think most of these teams who haven't been in this situation before, and most of them really have not, I think there is, you lose a game, you just let it get away. I think the frustrations and all this, and then, again, we don't have a situation where, I mean, it was hard to put some teams in the past away. I don't think it is as hard these days. And so I think that's what we're seeing. And I think, again, what we're seeing is, one of the weakest conference slates that we've ever seen in the East. And I know Heat fans are going to look at that and say, woulda, coulda, shoulda. I say woulda, coulda, shoulda, won a couple more games in the regular season. We might not have been in that position. So, I mean, these are the same teams. You say, we would beat them. Well, okay, then win 1 or 2 more games and beat them in the regular season, and then at least you have some control of your destiny, which right now they don't have. So I think that's where I'm at with it. And again, I think that we'll see more competition as we go forward. I think we're kind of looking again back at a Boston-Denver series. I'll say this, if you play, I should have done it last week. There's a lot of things I should have done, like finally sold my GameStop and AMC stocks right before they scored up again. Literally, I'm the reason for that. But I mean, Boston and Denver, to me, if you played that like a week ago, you would have gotten a crazy odds on it. Whereas before it was the chalk, and I just think we're headed back to it. I just don't see either of these teams really. It's in the Knicks state. I don't see how they push Boston and Denver. I just think their experience and just their basketball IQ and it ultimately overcomes, anybody they face in the next round.
Yeah, they seemed almost comatose in that second game against Minnesota, and then Minnesota opened up a big mouth, which is one of the things that Lubie wanted to get into with you here today in discussing the Heat off season. I love the state of the Riley address, the State of the Heat address by Pat Riley. I know that those have been some classic press conferences. Everybody goes back to the LeBron James deal where he started talking about, it takes courage to do this and that, and it takes some guts. What did you make of this whole thing with Jimmy Butler? I mean, much has been made of it. I mean, is that just status quo for the way the Heat approach things, that it's okay to say, hey, Jimmy Butler, shut your mouth? Or do you think that might have created a little bit of a divide?
Part of this is it's a 79-year-old man. It doesn't give a bleep what anybody thinks at this point.
See, I started feeling that way, as soon as the clock turned to 70. And
I turned that way
at
at 30.
Didn't care anymore.
I'll say this. I think that I don't think he intended to go as all in on Jimmy as he did. I think it was really a press conference about availability. I think he was speaking for the owner about that. And I also think he was speaking to the fans about that. And it's just that the Jimmy Butler thing fits into the availability because if you're going to pay someone $111 million, you're expecting them to be available. I mean, that's really where it's at. Now where does it play at now? I think that Jimmy's – I think we're at a stage here where, to me, there's one of two ways this plays out. I don't think there's really a third or fourth way, okay? I don't think he's being traded. And I also don't think that he's just going to play out the year and then opt into his contract and stay with the Heat. I think it's one of two things. I think they either bend on giving him the contract, and there won't be stipulations, by the way. He's not going to take less than the $111 million. It's really 58 because, I mean, that first year it's an extra 3. It's really like 61 total. So he's either going to opt into that. He's either going to take the extension, okay, because they offer it, because they bend on it, or he's going to play out his final season, and then he's going to opt out of his player option, and he's going to look to leave. That's really where it's at. And I don't, that's the Heat have to decide, and they probably already have, if they're comfortable with that. Like, are we comfortable getting one FU year from Jimmy, which could be a very productive year? FU at the world, but also FU at us. And he balls out. We have to deal with the distractions of it, and then he's going to walk after the season. That's what they have to determine, because I that's my understanding. The agent can say things publicly. I know what's going on in the background. I know kind of what he has to say, and I know what the real belief is in Jimmy's camp of what Jimmy's going to do. So that's where I'm at. And so I think it's going to be one of those two things. I think it's more likely that they give him the extension, but you're dealing with two stubborn gentlemen here. I don't know for sure. And I don't think it's just Pat who has reservations about the extension. I think it's above him at this point.
Well, look, and you've said this with us, that they've already done things with Jimmy they haven't done with anyone in the past, including LeBron James, where they've let him sort of freelance off the court. I mean, on the court, they demand high expectations from everyone, but off the court, they let him do things that LeBron wanted to do and they were like weird about. I don't know. It feels like to me they're not going to go on all this way with Butler and then just watch him go away. But I get, you never know. Riley's and Harrison, and when it comes to certain things, they're very hard lines. I guess we'll see. I presume to think they'll figure something out. What's interesting is you released, or your guys released a list of guys the Heat should be interested this offseason. And I liked a lot of the names, and a lot of the names.
Actually, I want to be clear on that. The guy who runs our IG page released it, and good for him. But Nerlens Noel was on that list. I was like, what? Okay. So anyway, unfortunately, the boss doesn't see everything before it's put out. But there were some names. There were some names on there that, yes, are possible targets. Yes.
So like Ingram, Mitchell, Durant, guys, look, they need scoring. That's really what gets them in trouble a lot with Butler. Bam, as we've talked about, has his moments, but is not assertive. He's really more of a number 3 on a contender, maybe a 2A on a contender, just not because of ability, but because of who he is. He seems to like settling into that role, and they need someone to pick up the scoring. And there's a few of those guys that could be available this offseason. What do you see them doing? Because to me, in the past, they've honed in on one guy so much that I think the smart move is to pick 3 or 4 guys, because it's hard for me to see them go through this offseason and not get someone. Like,
I just want to push back on one thing, because I know it's out there. I mean, they did go out and get Terry Rozier during the season, who was not considered to be a primary target. So they have pivoted. Sometimes it'll take months or for an opportunity to present itself, but they did. It just didn't work. Just didn't work out because the guy got hurt. So that's kind of part of it. But I think that I think as you look at it, you have to make a decision here, like making a move to make a move, and then what are you looking at? So okay, like Mitchell, okay, I understand the arguments for like emptying, the chamber there. Like, okay, I wouldn't trade Jovic, I didn't have to, but I understand the arguments. Durant, they've gone after, and it's been closer a couple of times than people really knew. So they always cycle back, and I don't know what the owner's going to do. There's a lot of noise with stuff Stephen A is talking about. I don't know if KD's going to want to take the reputation hit to force his way out again. I mean, it was this like the 13th time. But I can understand it there. But then you start to drop, and then okay, like we did a whole podcast about how you can't really have 3 max guys anymore. You can't even have a guy making what Tyler's making, honestly. If you try to stay out of the second apron and have flexibility in your roster, they've got 2 guys making what Tyler's making, and him and Rozier. Okay, but now we're talking about upping that another $20 million for Trae Young, or for Brandon Ingram. I mean, Brandon Ingram, they literally are moving on from him they decided to go with Trey Murphy III. And he didn't really play much in the playoffs during crunch time because they said fit with Zion, I guess. But I mean, there's always been a bit of an issue there. But it also seemed like there was more to it. So he wants an extension. Like, are you extending Brandon? Like, if your core going forward is Bam, Jimmy, and Ingram, like I understand if you're pivoting from Jimmy, going to get a guy in Bam's time frame, and paying that kind of money to sort of replace Jimmy, I guess, and then build with the other young guys that you keep. But if you're keeping Jimmy, I mean, it's either all in Mitchell or Durant, or otherwise, what are we doing here? Even Trey, like we just did a podcast about Trey. Obviously, there's a lot of noise there. you're going to spend that on a 5'11" guard who doesn't defend. I mean, I understand, again, the upside. He'll unlock Bam. He's an elite long range shooter. I get all those things. He's a high assist guy, but there are deficiencies that you can't ignore. They're not going to coach Trae Young to be taller. Like I don't. He's never going to be even a below average defender. He's literally the worst guard defender in the league. So people were by the metrics. So like you're frustrated by Tyler. Like I mean, then you're going to bring in this guy to get hunted, and then what are we doing here? You're trading Rozier to get him. You're going to play him with Tyler, or you're trading both of them. So I come back to this. I still think the most likely scenario here is that they trade Tyler for parts that fit better. Okay. I think we're heading more towards the Eddie Jones trade, not the one where they got him, but the one where they traded him. The one where they got Antoine Walker and Posey and those guys, where it's, okay, Eddie, thank you for your service. You were our lead guy for a little while, but we just saw it in the playoffs. You know, if you remember Eddie in that postseason, you know, Dwayne got hurt against Detroit. Yep. And then Eddie went 1 for 9 in a game 6 when they desperately needed him. That was it. And I kind of feel like with Tyler, that's the same thing. I sort of feel like that's where we're headed here. And some Heat fans who just want Tyler off the team are going to be happy with it. But they better get some size if they're doing that. They got to get some positional size.
Me and Eddie Jones. Still an embarrassment in my lifetime. When I was screaming, not particularly flattering things at Eddie Jones when he had 5 turnovers in that one game I'm in the stands there, and I'm saying all kinds of things. And sure enough, his family was sitting right in front of me.
Who are nice people.
Boy, did I feel like an asshole when I found that out.
And they are nice people. So,
no, very nice. And Eddie Jones.
Well, they were until that day. That changed them forever.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't have seen any more venomous looks. I don't think Michael Cohen got that kind of look from Donald Trump yesterday when he was on the stand. Although I don't think the Trumpster even had his eyes open at that point. I know you got to run. So we thank you for being with us. Fortunately for the 5 Reasons community, there won't be a lot to speculate upon about the Heat during the offseason. Just seems routinely cut and dry. Coming back, standing pat. Thanks so much for being with us, Ethan Scoop Skolnick, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Tony's going to join us soon here. Tony Segreto, Little Old School. That's brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. I had to cancel last week. Circumstances didn't permit me and the family to get together for our Texas Roadhouse roundup that we were looking forward to. As it turns out, Lubie, this is great. I mean, this is right under the Mike Mayo theory of why pay for anything if you don't have to. And that would be, I have the 4 gift cards that we were given by Ed Garcia when we went to Texas Roadhouse down in Miramar. And it turns out that my son's wife, Kelly, my daughter-in-law, she has 2 kids' tickets. So to all 6 of us, we're going to venture to the Texas Roadhouse in Coconut Creek. But we didn't make it last week, so we're going to try and reschedule that. Looking very much forward to that.
Nice.
Texas Roadhouse bringing you Old School with Tony Segreto, as Tony will join us here in just a few minutes on the show. We'll take up until about 9 o'clock. Ed Garcia is going to be with us as well, and we will be back with all of that in a moment. Now that.
The time.
I say start from scratch, though, on the Jimmy Butler thing. Lubie, what do you say?
I don't. Look, I've learned my lesson with the Heat. They don't ever do that. So
start from scratch. Just clear it out. It's not working with Jimmy Butler as your number 1 guy. Is it going to work if they bring Durant in to play with him?
I don't know.
I'm not sure. Need
scoring. They need scoring help. And they need size. They need someone who can actually bang, because Bam isn't that guy. And they need someone who can help them score. And then I think they're as good as anyone in the NBA. Can they get that? They've tried and failed. So.
We certainly have more stability in the coaching ranks.
Yeah.
Imagine you're Kevin Durant, and now I don't know if he was a big fan of Frank Vogel, and we've said this before, that Vogel has probably done less with more than a lot of coaches in the NBA, but this owner is Meshuggah there in Arizona. He fires Monty Williams after he wins Coach of the Year, brings in Vogel, makes a bunch of moves, the GM does. They have already Durant on the roster. They bring in Bradley Beal. And that's not exactly the kind of configuration of a big 3 that you're thinking is going to be successful. It's kind of ill-conceived, just like when the Nets went for Durant and they had Harden, and of course they had Kyrie Irving, and you thought, well, is that really like a big 3 combination that works?
No, it's not.
Don't you need to consider positionally that the big 3 should have, like, Kareem, Magic, and maybe one
Worthy.
other guy you could
It was
take
Worthy.
Worthy. Yeah, you could
They
take
were
your pick
three
of a
different
bunch of
dudes.
Lakers. Yeah, and they played different positions and they played them in different styles. So there was a lot to contend with there. All right, we're coming back with Tony Segreto, a little old school on this Wednesday, and we will return in a moment. Now that
The time.
you're not a fan of starting from scratch. All right, it's 8:27.
Here, let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
What we gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto. Brought to you by Texas Roadhouse.
Tell me, doctor, where are we?
There he is. Welcome back to the show. Good to be with you this fine Wednesday. If it's Wednesday, we're going old school with Tony Segreto, who joins us right now. We got Lubie up there in box number 1. I'm Jeff DeForest, and we welcome the premier, the number one sportscaster, newscaster, all-time history of South Florida airwaves, the great Tony Segreto. Tony, how are you, my friend?
I'm great. How are you?
Good morning.
I'm doing all right. I'm hanging in there. A bit of a mystery here how this Achilles is going to heal up. I got all kinds of contraptions, which I haven't bothered to use yet, but I'm getting ready. I think I'm going to be walking on stilts. That's going to be the way it goes. You keep getting different, variations of how long it takes and whether or not this thing actually heals up. I feel like Aaron Rodgers probably got better treatment than I did.
Probably did.
Yeah, I mean, he was able to just ignore everything else and concentrate on getting that Achilles better. No, other than that, I mean, it's the old question. Other than that, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln?
It's just fine. Lubie, how are you?
I am fantastic. Good morning, Tony. How are you this morning?
I am great.
You look good, kid, man. I got to tell you. I mean, nobody looks better than you at this stage of life. Just incredible. All right, so where was your concentration last night, Tony Segreto? We had doubleheaders in the NBA with a couple of big playoff games, pivotal game 5s, Knicks prevailing, and the Nuggets did as well. 2 hockey games what were going last night. Of course, the Panthers tried to wrap it up against the Bruins, couldn't do it. That was big. And Edmonton and Vancouver were going at it. They ended up knotting up their series at 2 apiece. And why am I feeling that this was where your attention was? A WNBA doubleheader, including the incredibly impressive double-double posted by Caitlin Clark. 20 points on 33% shooting and 10 turnovers. But was that where your eyeballs were last night on the WNBA game?
No, I was watching MSNBC.
Oh, yeah, wow.
He's watching the scary news.
No, I was,
I am fascinated by the Trump hush money trial, though, because I love anything that pertains to Trump's criminal behavior.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. No, I am. I mean, I'm watching analysis of it. And I mean, like the people weren't even there. Yeah.
Seriously. You know what I like about that? The artist rendering.
Oh,
great.
God.
Fantastic.
Every day.
Oh my God. It is unbelievable. It is unbelievable. I'll be honest with you. I was switching between the Panthers, which is unbelievable.
Yeah, it was a great game.
And Caitlin Clark. I wanted to see how she'd do. She had 10 turnovers in the game.
And they were kind of brutal. I mean, it wasn't like it was pretty, or they were, just arbitrary bad luck or something.
The pressure on this young woman is tremendous, and she's handled it so well. And now the debuts are the way, and she can concentrate on basketball. So
How bad was this team though, Indiana Fever last year? I mean, they had. I think did they have the number one pick last year too, and then I think they had like the first and fourth selection this year, something like that. I might be wrong about that, but I want to say that that's what happened, and it wasn't enough to to get them even close to the Connecticut Sun, who are not considered any big powerhouse in the WNBA as far as I know. Now I'm an expert on the WNBA.
I love that you're doing all this.
Hey, listen.
There had to be a curiosity factor because it is. What was interesting? It is a little bit of a different level because you have reduced down the number of women that are playing to these sort of grizzled veterans. There are a lot of them. I mean, Diana Taurasi's playing at 41 years old.
Yeah,
and so these ladies have been around for a while, and it's a whole different ballgame because it's like stepping up in company. When some guy's knocked out 19 guys on his way to getting a title shot. Now all of a sudden he's in elite company and he gets clocked.
Yeah.
So big difference, step up in class. So what did you think overall about all of that Caitlin Clark debut?
I thought she did fine. I thought that the nerves were there and especially with the turnovers, but I thought all in all it went pretty well. I just can't get excited. I expected that.
Yeah.
Even Jim Sarney kind of tempered his enthusiasm. He curbed his enthusiasm. The old Larry David thing for saying, I said, how can you not be glued to this? He was telling me he was going to be watching all kinds of stuff. I mean, there was professional women's rodeo, and you had lacrosse, and all gymnastics meet was going on, junior high women's gymnastics. And I said, you're not going to be watching Caitlin Clark? He said, it's just one of 40 games. Like, really? I mean, he was a bigger advocate for this than you, Tony, which is amazing.
Oh, God. Listen, the schedule comes out tonight. The NFL schedule comes out tonight.
Oh, yeah. Well, we already know a couple of the games. They haven't released the whole thing?
No, I think they do the big release fucking party. It's a whole...
Yeah, it's a whole big thing. But the Jets open up a Monday night game?
Monday night, yeah.
Against the 49ers?
Or Niners, against the Niners, yeah.
Yeah. Should be interesting. Should be an interesting matchup. And the Dolphins, we'll see where they land. But this is the time of the year where I would.
Your favorite. This was Defo's favorite.
I couldn't wait. I could not wait.
Oh, you were great at this, yeah.
There'd be bombing going on in Syria, and
Israel has wiped out the entire Gaza Strip. Here's Tony though with the Dolphin schedule. How did you feel about that being the top priority of the news department? Now, this was when you were doing sports too.
Yeah.
But even when you became the number one anchor, they still had you perform that particular exercise. And you would routinely have the Dolphins at, I would say, 12-4, 11-5, something like that. Didn't matter how shitty the roster looked. I love that about you, Tony. It was one of my favorite aspects of your broadcast career.
First of all, let me just tell you that when I switched to news, the only way I would switch to news if I still did sports.
Oh, you loved it. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. You came back and did that too. You're unbelievable. Now, did you get paid for both jobs, or
which was a whole?
That was a big debate.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. I'm doing two jobs. You're not having to pay a guy to do sports. Listen, Tony. We could get Brokaw in here for the money we're paying you. What are you talking about? Was that ever suggested? I don't know. No, all right. And so then you did engage in a little bit of Panther hockey last night. I kiss it death to them. I just was saying yesterday that
I expect
that they were going to win the cup now, and that I thought that they were very capable of doing that, which you could say that about any of the teams that are left in the hunt. 8 teams. All of them have a shot to win the cup and would make a realistic claim that they deserved it. But I thought the Panthers were playing the best of anybody in terms of consistency in the way that they were handling the Boston Bruins. I don't know if you can be overwhelmingly upset about how they lost last night.
It was a dogfight to the
tough
end.
game all the way. Could have gone either way, and they had many chances to put in, shots that they were at point blank range, but they couldn't cash them home. And that happens in hockey. So what did you think about that? Now, if the Bruins knot this up at 3 apiece, the big question is, where can we get tickets to Game 7?
That's all you think about?
100%.
I wouldn't mind going. I mean, that'd be awesome.
I hope they
Always.
just
I mean, everybody says that. You know, the most exciting words in all of sports is Game 7. I'm not sure I always buy that, but yeah,
Oh,
it'd be
I
great
do.
to see.
I do. Game 7, I definitely do.
It depends what it is. I mean, you know, and what the series is all about. I mean, Game 7 last year was terrific with the Celtics and the Heat. When they got to Game 7, and everybody thought the Celtics would roll over the Miami Heat, and they ended up getting just absolutely
roll.
clobbered. Yeah, I mean, I don't think any Panther fans would be overwhelmingly
I don't
excited
want
about
Game
it.
7.
Although
No.
I would imagine people would still be confident that the Panthers were not
they're
going
at
to lose
home.
3 in a row to this team.
I mean, they're at
Yeah.
home. I mean, look, they played what? That's what's funny is it's annoying because it was a tight game at home. Another questionable goal in this series where you had the game before questionable for the Panthers. Now the Bruins got their questionable goal. So I don't want to hear either fan base bitch because both of you have been given a goal. And again, the Bruins had plenty of chances to separate from the Panthers, and Bobrovsky played out of his fucking mind. I have to give him credit. And the Panthers had chances to take a lead multiple times, to tie and take a lead, and Swayman played out of his mind. So it was almost reminiscent of like the night, like an old school, you would have like Juan Hasek face each other or Juan Van Beesbrook face each other, and the goalies were the stars last night. The goalies played out of their mind.
They should be the stars every night.
They haven't been in this series. I mean, one goalie every night's had a struggle, but that last night you saw it. But it was probably the best, I guess, all-around game. But it wasn't a blowout. It was just annoying because the Panthers, look, Pasternak had his chances too, but at least he would get his stick on the puck and Barras would make a save. The Panthers' chances were annoying because they'd make this great pass, a guy'd be set up and he would whiff. It's like, God damn it! Like, or they would hit it and blow the net, and it was like, at least the Bruins were getting their chances on net, and Bobrovsky was just.
I find that the National Hockey League Stanley Cup playoffs are much more exciting than the NBA playoffs.
Oh, it's not even. Well, the playoffs have sucked in the NBA. I mean, every night's a blowout.
Except for, the over-under on Brunson scoring 40 points again.
Wow.
That
seemed rather improbable, didn't it? I mean, they were talking about how banged up he was, and the Thibodeau's playing everybody just such draining amounts of time and minutes, and they're down to like 4 guys that can actually play. And supposedly have no bench, and then they win by 30. That was insane.
Yeah, insane.
It really was. I mean,
really
if you think about it, I thought Indiana was a good play on the money line. I was reading a couple of handicapping selections and very sharp deductions being made by these guys from the sabermetrics, and you thought, wow, if you were ever going to unload on something, it's Pacers money line at plus 120, and before you know it, you're down 30 in the first quarter. It's pretty much hopeless from that point on.
Yeah, the hockey playoffs, even the games that ended up being a blowout in this series through a period of 2 periods, they were good games. I mean, and then the other series,
games, they've all been gripping. You're watching, you're sitting on the edge of your seat because at any moment this could blow wide open.
Yep.
And I can't wait for Game 6 now, because if you hear the Boston fans, they can win it.
Oh yeah, for sure. They thought they could win it down 3-1. I mean,
they beat them 4 straight in the regular season.
But if you hear the Panther fans, there's a little bit of
because we haven't.
This is true over many, many years, though. Just as you build up an overwhelming amount of confidence,
the Panthers always do that
in your hometown team, they do something that, I wouldn't have been, overly disappointed about last night because, like Lubie said, it's an arbitrary bounce of the puck, and the Panthers could have easily won that game 5-2, just as easily as they lost it. That goal could have been disallowed. You could make a big case for that. I'm wondering too. I mean, do you think, Tony, there was an element there that, hey, we fucked them before. This is a different officiating crew. But what was there some kind of stipulation that if something like this happens? I mean, it's interesting because if you're looking at that, I would have said, yes, goalie interference.
I mean, you took the stick from
the guy. Well, and before the stick incident, which the announcers are trying to justify by saying it's okay to grab the goalie's stick if he's outside the crease.
That's not true. You're never allowed to touch.
It's not okay to grab a guy's stick anywhere. I mean, holding a stick is always
It's
called.
like going up to a guy skating and taking his stick and throwing it in.
Yeah, you're not allowed to do
hitting
that.
him in the head. Yeah, I mean,
Can you
Stepped
imagine?
short of chopping Bobrovsky's head off while he was at it.
You're right. He came into the crease and tripped him.
But he hit him with his skate while the guy
Yes.
was in the crease
Yes.
and knocked him off balance. You would have thought that alone would have been enough
Automatically.
to negate the goal. But was that just overlooked because of the fact that everybody knew that they screwed him on that
Yes.
goal in Boston, which was
Which
a
was
very,
a-
very pivotal goal in that game.
You got two people like dogs.
Yeah, they interfered. The Panthers interfered, and they interfered, and they both got a goal for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you always wonder. I mean, you're thinking in the Knicks series against the Pacers, eventually something had to sort of level out in terms of the officiating benefits that were going the New York Knicks' way, and then it turned out in the last couple of games to be zero factor because both were in reverse. Both were wide open blowouts where officiating would be of little consequence.
I predict I predict the way the Knicks are playing and the way the Panthers are playing. I think both of them will advance, but then we see the real teams come out and play.
Yeah, well, you wonder who it's going to be against because the Rangers all of a sudden find themselves in a dicey situation going on the road tonight against Carolina,
Really?
the team that was actually favored to win the Stanley Cup. They were down 0-3. I have a friend who's such a sick degenerate, Tony. You'll love this. And Lubie and I were doing.
Sicker than you?
Oh no, this guy makes
way
me.
worse than him.
Look like a teetotaler. I mean, he was involved last night for $5,000 on a baseball parlay of two teams that one of which he gave out on our new gambling show, which did win. So that was good. He picked up 13,000. But he sent me two of the sickest beats ever. One he was about to collect 80,000 for, the other 50. And Lubie knows this because he was describing this on the show, but he actually sent me the video of it. Two of the sickest college basketball beats I've ever seen in my lifetime cost this guy a total of $130,000. But I mean, most people, feel that I would feel somewhat confident in the Panthers, but it's the old one game at a time theory there, Tony. Where I mean, you probably felt this pain as much as anybody. When the Yankees had a 3-0 lead on the Red Sox, and the curse of the Bambino was finally lifted after the Red Sox came back, stormed back, and won that series in 7.
I just don't even bring it up. Let's bring on Ed.
Is that the first thing you mention of Bucky Dent when you call? Hey, Bucky, remember this? Oh, look at this guy, man. Holy moly. Talk about a guy who's got it going on. That's Ed Garcia from Texas Roadhouse Restaurants.
Hey, Ed.
How are you?
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good. Ready to rock and roll this beautiful Wednesday.
Yep.
How closely are you following this postseason action? I would imagine, some interest in the Florida Panthers?
Absolutely. And, the last 2 days I've been a little bit off the market, getting ready to open up the Texas Roadhouse here in Lake Park. Granted, it doesn't open until July 1st, but working on some of the final inspections and construction. So I'm going to be getting caught up hopefully later on today because I've been out of the pocket. But yes, Panthers are looking really solid. I saw a couple games last week and super stoked about, how that's trending. I want to see them go all the way. So granted, it does hurt business a little bit, but, our bar does fill up with people watching them. So it's been awesome.
My understanding is that Bennett, who's been instrumental, obviously, is a big factor in any success that the Panthers have, and he was the guy that shoved this guy into the goal crease and created that controversy, but that he wants to drink a house margarita out of the Stanley Cup at Texas Roadhouse.
That's what I'm talking
That is
about.
a stated intention of his, if indeed he has the cup. So there's a possibility. I don't know if he's going to go Coconut Creek, Miramar, where he's going to be, but supposedly that's going to happen, that the cup will be at a Texas Roadhouse, and Sam Bennett will be drinking at least one, if not several, of the house margaritas out of the Stanley Cup.
I'm all about it. Instead of the plastic tube with the Patron kicker, we're just going to put the whole bottle in there for him, too.
Very good. Now, I would imagine, too, you were slammed Mother's Day, and we always have something big coming up. You got the Memorial Day weekend, and then
Memorial Day
right around the corner, Father's Day, which I would imagine really would be a big hit at Texas Roadhouse because Dad loves his steaks, that's for sure.
Yes, Mother's Day was a huge success. I'm very, very excited. I'll tell you, I worked West Palm, and we fed 2,600 plus people that day.
Wow.
And broke a record. Actually, out of the 11 locations, we broke 10 out of 11 records that day.
Oh, wow.
And it was busy. And here's what was really cool: because of the mobile app, our wait did not really get longer in most of my locations than about an hour and a half. I know that's still a long time, but because of the mobile app,
Yeah, but you don't wait.
yeah, you don't have to wait that long. And traditionally, I've seen 2, 3, and up to 4 hour waits sometime.
Wow.
But we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of tents in a lot of our parking lots. We had like life-size Uno cards, life-size checkers, so and bound houses at some of our locations. So kids were having a blast, enjoying while they were waiting, tiring themselves out. So when they got to sit down and eat, it was a really cool family event. But you're right, Memorial Day is right around the corner. All my locations in South Florida will be open for lunch that day. We typically, we don't open for lunch, but since not a lot of people are working, if you're not going down to the beach, or hey, on your way back from the beach or boating, you can stop on by. And that's a big thing. And then a couple locations, feel free to check them out, because graduations are happening right now. A lot of high school, a little on the tail end of the college graduations. But I'll tell you, West Palm, because of the amphitheater right there, they open up for lunch, and it's like full house 247, because these big graduation parties are coming in. We're just trying to make it awesome for you and your family and graduates, and celebrating whatever it may be, birthday, Father's Day, Mother's Day, Memorial Day, or hey, Lubie's around. Why not celebrate? So let's go.
And what is your biggest seller?
Overall, the number one seller is the 6-ounce sirloin. That's just something that a lot of people grew up with. It's an amazing cut of meat, great value.
I was gonna say what meat prices are now. That's the kind of size. That's the cut I get. It's the size that fills you up. You don't really want to have too much leftover steak outside of making a steak sandwich. You really would rather eat steak there, because no matter how good you are reheating food, it's hard to get it rare again. You pretty much just overcook it and make a sandwich out of it. So. And it's a cut everyone likes, and you price it. Whereas, like we talk about, where like prices are crazy for meat, that's similar to what it's always been, no matter what the prices are.
And you get two sides with it, two made from scratch sides, which we are very generous, healthy sides, heaping sides, which makes it awesome. And so that's our number one seller. Down in South Florida, the bone-in ribeye, which is Defo's favorite, is probably the number 2.
Best deal on a steak I've seen anywhere. You can go to high-end steakhouses. You can go to Tad's in Times Square. You're not going to find a better value on a better steak than the bone-in ribeye at Texas Roadhouse. I can say that.
Absolutely.
In all sincerity, my friend. And I think you even convinced a very harsh and discriminating critic like Mike Mayo that was the case. Mayo, who used to sneer at the idea of chain restaurants. Oh, my God, they can't be good. And then you just won this guy over. And that's not an easy thing to do, because his is not an easy opinion to change.
He could be opinionated. He can be opinionated.
Oh, insufferably so. I mean, it's just like, come on, open your eyes. He hates a restaurant that I love in Atlantic City, and he's never been there and never heard of it. Right? It's like the best restaurant in town. And they go, oh, how good could it be? But no, Texas Roadhouse, that was so great. I mean, you overwhelmed him, Ed. You know how to approach this guy.
Yeah,
you just overwhelmed him with so much good stuff that
you brought out the kitchen sink, basically.
Yes, yeah, that was great.
You just wowed him. Just wowed him to death.
But that bone-in ribeye is really excellent, and I don't know, to sort of disagree with Lubie. I think having taken many of those home almost in their entirety, because they're so big. I've had them any number of times, even days later, taking bites, and
they taste
as good
great.
as it was there. Yeah,
it's hard to make a medium rare.
Yeah.
Like if you believe me, I'm the microwave king, so there's nothing wrong with taking it home. It tastes good. The flavors are great. It's just I'd rather eat it there because you guys cook it perfectly.
No, it is incredible, and that's what everybody in the industry is talking about. Yeah, food costs going soaring, and they can't help but continue to raise prices. You're not having to print out new menus every other week like a lot of places. Ed Garcia.
That's correct. Yeah, we just pride ourselves on value, and it keeps the restaurant full, keeps the energy great, and and it's something that we're just super proud of. I mean, wearing this logo, out there, it's you can stand behind your product because you're making it. Do we make mistakes? I mean, that's what happens when you make things from scratch. Absolutely. Yeah. But at the end of the day, we just keep trying over and over and over again to reach that level of perfection. And And I feel we do a very, very good job with that, and just something to be proud of. And hey, that's why we're growing restaurants, and you'll be seeing us in Lake Park July 1st.
And how many bags of peanuts do you go through a day?
Oof. I'll tell you, now that they're prepackaged, and I'll look that number up and for sure get that for you. But I know that when I walked into West Palm, we had 64 cases, and there's 72 in each one. And I don't even know how many we went through, because we'll set one out on the table, or the guests will grab one when they walk in. But then you have someone like Lubie, when they walk out, they sneak 7 in their shoulders. Out there.
So you're watching. I knew it. I'm like, I don't know.
I think you guys go through more peanuts than they do at Dodger Stadium in a season.
And you know what? We've been a lot of major ballparks and stadiums have been buying our peanuts.
Oh, really?
It's been pretty cool. Yes. I went and watched with the wife. She's a Bulldog. We went to the Bulldogs. They carry it. I don't know if Tiger Stadium has it, but there's a couple. We're working on the Marlins a little bit. I've had a few calls with them.
The peanuts go stale, though? Or don't they go stale? Because if you had 5 bags at the Marlins Park.
They're
okay, good. Because there are not enough people there to even move a case out.
Since COVID, we used to package them ourselves inside the 4 walls, and you're 100% right. They go stale fairly quickly if they're out in the open air. But with COVID, for safety, precautionary, and people digging their hands in there, we went to a packaged peanut. It's been a huge success. And hey, and also on a side note, reach out to your local Texas Roadhouse. They may donate you a case, or you could do a case and use it for a charity and fundraiser if you're looking to raise some money. I think it's a really cool thing that we do to support the community. But with the prepackaged, it's been a big hit.
Yeah. Ed, one more thing, just to refresh my memory. Did you get the contract at
remember, Davey?
No, I'm sorry. Yes, we're still working on it.
It's going to be an Arby's, Tony.
Korean barbecue now. So I'm back on the streets trying to figure out where the next Davey site is going to be.
But you are trying to find
we were
something
this
more
close.
for Broward. Okay.
I know you were.
We would have actually, because the way that the lease was written, we would have been open next year.
Wow.
That would have been one of my fastest builds ever going, because of the way the lease was written, and we were taking over an existing building. So, but maybe you can reach into some of your contacts and say, hey, hook this guy up. And, if you got an 8,000 square foot building, I'm looking.
Tony, you're like the mayor of Davie. What are you talking about, Tony? Tony snaps his fingers and stuff gets done there. It's incredible. Well, what do you got going for any entertainment? You're always we get vicarious thrills through your sporting travels.
I'm actually laying low for a little bit. Really my next trip, I'm going to be heading down to Columbia here in the middle of June to visit some family and friends.
Nice.
But yes.
Columbia, the country, not South Carolina, where there are 2 Texas Roadhouse locations.
That's my next big thing. I am going to our office next week in Louisville, and hopefully pick up the pieces from everybody parting from the Derby. But other than that, that's all I got. I'm actually in the route right now to Daytona and Melbourne. I'm working up there the next 3 days. So I'm hanging out here in Port St. Lucie. That's what that loud noise was. It was the margarita machine warming up for Lubie.
Get that Melbourne location cranking here, because the little woman is talking about, hey, we ought to get out of here and move to Melbourne. I'm like, what are we going to do up there? And if I know there's a Texas Roadhouse, at least I know civilization is not completely abandoned up there. Ed, we love you, man. Thanks so much. Always a pleasure, my friend.
Guys.
Ed Garcia, ladies and gentlemen, Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. Really a great place.
He's such a fabulous guy. He's a fabulous guy. The restaurant, for any of you people who haven't been there, I urge you to go and just try it, because it's spectacular.
You haven't even mentioned the fresh baked bread, Tony. Nobody can sell bread like you. I mean, you should have been working for the Wonder Bread people. You're amazing. You had me for years just wanting to go have a roll. I was going to go and say, hey, just give me a fucking roll. That was the best ad ever put together, man. Lubie with some editing also, but nonetheless, no, that was brilliant on your part.
My wife comes home and she says, "How was the show today?" And I go, "We laughed," and I can't think of a half hour where I spend with you guys, where I don't laugh a lot.
That's what we're all about. I mean,
we do.
our picks were pretty funny yesterday, though.
They were very
Lubie refuses to acknowledge. I was going to have Scoop Skolnick undress him and take 30 seconds to convince him that Jalen Brunson's a hell of a player.
I think he's a good player. I never said he's not good.
He comes with the butts with a giant capital B-U-N-T.
But
he doesn't play any defense. He can't guard anybody. He couldn't guard
is he
Mario.
Mike Norvell? Is he Mike Norvell too?
Does Norvell have more to prove to Lubie Lubitz? I mean, does he need to actually win a championship? Well, what do you think?
For me, no. I mean, other people probably.
He got him back on the map very quickly, didn't he? I mean, when you think about where they were at, they were kind of languishing there. They had all these.
How do you think Jordan Travis is going to do in the pros?
I hate that he went to the Jets. It's annoying because I think he would actually be a really good NFL quarterback. I don't know what to. First of all, I hate the Jets. Second, they ruin quarterbacks. So the positive for him is that he's behind Aaron Rodgers and he's taking his time. The kid's he's a good kid and he's a really good team. To this day, the team, like anyone who talks, like literally Cam Coleman, who's now the star because he's doing all these interviews and they realize, oh God, this kid has a good personality. We should have drafted him higher. I'm like, no, he's a great player. You should have fucking drafted him higher. He said point blank, the reason I went there was Jordan Travis. And all these other players are saying that guy usually finds a way in the pros. Like the guy that's the good team guy that works hard, that puts a team above himself, especially a quarterback, finds a way. It's just annoying that it's the Jets.
He could be the next Colt McCoy. Of like a 15-year career.
Oh, yeah, he'll be in the.
And then all of a sudden he's starting like for the Houston Texans. You're like, wait a minute, I didn't even know this guy was still alive. No, I liked Jordan Travis. The guy was he represented himself very, very well. A bunch of FSU guys were big factors in the draft. Whereas, remember Tony talking old school?
Yeah,
we used to try to speculate: will there be 7 or 8 Hurricanes taken in the first round of the draft? No, I couldn't. I guess Lubie said there were some Hurricanes drafted, but where the hell are you with this
7th round? Yeah.
All right, one last thing too, Tony. I mean, you were the man, and the schedule coming out. I don't know that I pay that much attention to that. It seems like the schedule is a schedule, but and you might want to circle a date on a couple of home games that you think you're interested in. But beyond that, you're looking at Miami this year. A lot of people are speculating they're going to be very good. There's evidence that maybe they should be. That they lost some talent, but they did pick up some guys. It seemed like that their plan wasn't a total disaster. With the departures, but with Buffalo, I mean, Buffalo doesn't seem like they're as good as they were. They lost Stephon Diggs and other key players. The Patriots are a long way off. They're going to be starting possibly a rookie quarterback in Drake May, a new coach also in Mayo, and then the Jets, always going to be suspect to me, Aaron Rodgers notwithstanding. So what do you think? I mean, are the Dolphins going to win the division this year and maybe the AFC?
I think they have a great shot if they don't get hurt to win the division. I think their biggest hurdle will be the Jets. I believe that down in my heart.
You see Lubie get jolted there? I mean, it was almost like he had a heart spasm when you said the Jets.
I mean, the division, sure, I guess. The Bills, I think, are going to be showing themselves.
What do you think Rodgers is gonna look like with the Jets? You got any idea?
Know.
I mean, I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm assuming he's going to be good, but who knows, right? Coming off Achilles surgery, Danny was never the same after that.
Yeah, he. Well, you gotta fast forward. You gotta.
That was 20 years ago. It was 30 years ago. It was 30 years ago. I guess.
Yeah. So, I have a feeling they're going to be really, really good. This is my outward belief, but who's to say?
Would you have them at 13-4 if you were doing the schedule when it comes out? Win, loss, win, loss. I will never let that go, Tony. I don't know. You can go ahead and punch me the next time you see me.
Are you going to be?
I loved it. I really did. I mean, I used to call the whole family and go, "He's doing it. He's doing the schedule."
Gather around, kids.
Everybody, hey, kids, Jesse.
Are you going to be at the track Friday?
Yes, I'm going to make an attempt to make it. I did pick up this kind of hairy brace that I'm supposed to walk around in.
Well, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
This is not sports related.
Okay. What kind of asshole am I? Is that?
Why don't you do what the doctor says?
Well, it's kind of weird. I just picked the thing up yesterday. It's very awkward to walk in, especially the first couple of steps, But my situation doesn't lend itself to wearing this thing around the house. Although that would seem to be like an important step. I have to tell you though, I literally thought that when I went to see this guy to pick up this brace, that the guy was going to tell me, "Hey, you don't need it. You're fine." Because in and of itself, it feels fine. Now I understand that this is kind of the nature of this Achilles injury, where the problem is it could snap at any time. In fact, the guy told me just when you feel great about it is when it snaps.
Yeah.
I was like, well, that's not encouraging because I've been on a shelf here for like 5 weeks already. It seems like, and that's a long time to do nothing. But I have been very marginally, walking around. I've skipped a few things that Lubie and Mayo were doing, and I've mostly been just laid up. I've been off of it, so maybe that helped. I don't know. I mean, it feels fine. If I didn't know it was torn, I would go and do the walk of life today. I actually feel that good about it, but within minutes, I probably find myself on the ground writhing in pain.
Help
They
me.
say it takes a long time for this, to
It's a really
actually
long
heal
time.
itself. Yeah. So,
I can't believe you tore it out because
well, I didn't tear the whole thing. I mean, it's a partial tear, but the guy said I was hanging by a thread, so that kind of scared me. But at the same time, I mean, I don't feel badly at all. It's just weird because I'm relegated to doing nothing, and I'm afraid to take one bad step. So I'm walking around kind of awkwardly. But and then I'm going to try this thing today and see what happens. But I have to practice driving with it. That's what the guy said. He said practice in some in some parking lot or something for a little while until you get the feeling for it because you feel like your foot's moving and it ain't.
really.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's just hard to describe. But I'm going to do it because I want to get better, Tony. Look, I mean, you value the simplest of things,
You
as
do.
you well know. Once you experience
Yes.
some kind of, the other thing was weird because they scared me half to death that I was going to get my foot chopped off, which turned out to be a total unnecessary exercise. But this, I mean, look, yeah, sports injuries happen. I'm sure you've had a million of them: hamstrings, ankles, whatever. My Achilles has always been a little tender at different times. So does it surprise me that this happened? No. But yeah, the healing process is weird because it's hard to judge if you're okay.
How'd you do it?
Well, I think it was just wear and tear in the long run. I mean, I was doing my walks. I felt the irritation before I actually went out and snapped it. But I felt something strange going on back there. And I thought it was just from my shoe rubbing against my heel. But then it turned out that was the prelude to taking a couple of running steps and hearing the whole thing crack. But that's life. I mean, it could have happened. Look, it happened to Aaron Rodgers. The guy was just coming out of training camp, and all of the arduous stuff they do to make sure none of this stuff takes place. And he does what? I mean, he drops back to look at the injury to Danny. Somebody who was it? Mayo sent me the clip of that thing where Danny's foot just gets caught in the turf there, and he takes one awkward step, and the next thing you know, that's it, blown Achilles. So I would imagine, the treatment is just vague. They really don't do anything for it. You're either going to have the surgery and then be laid up for like a year, or figure that it's going to heal itself, and I'm hoping that turns out to be the case. I've usually been lucky in these kind of things, Tony.
Well, we hope so too.
Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, but it's certainly a weird start to the year, as we're already in May, and I've had like 1 month where I was okay. At least it's not the heart, it's not the lungs, it's not anything that could cause you to be an immediate path of the Grim Reaper.
But now you have to watch your weight. Now it just
it's a little tougher. Yeah, I mean, I haven't been able to eat dinner because I was exercising quite a bit. So my weight was going in the right direction and feeling good, and managed to maintain. I probably put on 4 or 5 pounds from my low. But I feel pretty good about that because one walk in this heat and that 5 pounds will be gone. So
yeah.
So it'll be fine. All right, Tony, we'll see you Friday, I hope.
Friday.
Yeah. How's the tooth, by the way? Never mind me.
It's going to have to be pulled.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's no big deal.
The next Tuesday.
Yeah.
I'm on antibiotics until Saturday. So.
Okay. All right. Tuesday, you go in there and they get the pliers out. Yeah.
Either that or they attach a string to a doorknob and slam it shut.
Yeah, they're not that primitive anymore, Tony. I mean, dentistry has come a long way from the days when we were kids. That's for sure.
It certainly has.
Yeah. I mean, it's pain factor.
Now. My God.
It's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. It's not so bad. I mean, I still have a radical fear of dentists, but nonetheless.
Is there one doctor of all time, that's of our generation, that is you're fearful of, it's the dentist. It's
My
yeah.
life. Yeah, my
Yeah.
life.
Dentist
Yeah,
was never a pleasant experience, man.
Never.
From the time they take that giant fucking needle and stick it right in there, and that's supposed to help you. Without it, though, I mean, you're in the Marathon Man scene, with Dustin Hoffman. All right, Tony, we love you, man. We'll see you Friday. Thanks so much for being with us. Tony Segreto, ladies and
We
gentlemen.
feel
Great
better.
Tony
Bye,
Segreto.
Lubie.
We love you, Tony.
All right, Lubie, what do you think, man? Did we do it?
Another day done, sir.
Yeah, we were a little sloppy today, you would have to say. I was. I don't know. I don't blame you.
That's
That's, man, I'm not going to put it off on you. I'm not going to talk about the other players on the team. It's all on me, my friend. All right. So, what, a Delaware Chicken Farm?
Today we're at Delaware,
Okay.
and then we're also going to do Heritage today.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow.
Reno is unable to join tomorrow, but he's available today. So we're going to do Delaware at 1 normal. So check that out. And then at 3:00 to then be aired again tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be from Heritage with one and only Reno Sorbonne. And I'm sure he'll be fired up after what was a very annoying performance from the Panthers last night.
All right. Which one of those should I plan on attending? What do you think? I love Delaware Chicken Farm, and I love Reno's
You do
Heritage
whatever you
Restaurant.
can. I'm leaving it to you right now. I mean,
Yeah. All right.
those
Yeah.
are two shows that we sometimes look when there's a bunch of people on, there's really no need. But those are two shows we would have you on because you get your grill.
No, Delaware is great, man. I mean, I may even ask for a side of filter fish. Yeah.
There you go. So
the Reno man stands out. There's no doubt about it.
Whatever you're capable of doing,
All right, I'll figure it out. I got to do this other show that's going nowhere for a couple of hours. Coming right up. All right, Louis, we'll see you out there somewhere. You're doing yeoman-like work as always, and we will catch you later on. Thanks so much for being with us, everybody. I'll see you next time as we leave you know that.
The time.
It's 9:08.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my show.